Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero, waiting for Satish Ram to be able to put himself through. We're having some technical difficulties tonight. However, it's very interesting. Here we are, right, doing our two-show spectacular tonight, having ourselves from 11:30 to 12:30, Steven Universe, episodes 37 and 38, and then from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., we're going to have ourselves a Gravity Falls mid-season finale review for the latest episode that came out, episode 11, being season 2's mid-season finale. So here we are about to have, this really cool situation, and technical difficulties ahoy. I mean, that's apparently, what happens here.
I'm in now, though, so we're good. Don't worry too much.
That's all right, okay. So, no, because I'm sitting here thinking all he can do is hear himself, and if he hasn't been able to check his phone, it's just technical difficulties. Satish sitting there. I wonder what's going on with that right now. Technical difficulties. But yeah, no, happy to have you here with our two-show extravaganza for any of you Steven Universe fans. We're going to talk about 37 and 38 for the next hour, which is the Stevonnie episode and then the test. And after that, we're going to take a 30-minute break, kind of recharge our batteries. And, if you're Gravity Falls fans as well, please come on back and listen to us from 1 to 2 on Gravity Falls.
Yeah, sounds about good to me.
All right. So, Satish, but here we are, though, talking about Steven Universe. So, what did you, before we get into the episode, because usually we kind of, give it all like a rundown, this moment was fun, this moment, usually in some kind of order. But this was a very important episode, not only for this show, but I would argue for television as a whole, especially animated television that's marketed towards kids, but still does have that broad appeal. So how did you feel about this episode?
So it was Alone Together was the actual title, right?
Right, yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got confused on my own right where I was like about to say Stevonnie, but that's not the episode. No. So when it comes down to this episode, you said like it could have been really important for TV, and I really understand that because when it first came out, you and I talked extensively about the repercussions of this episode in terms of showing support for marginalized communities. People, and there's a lot of adult themes in this episode too that I thought were really well handled, and I was just the entire episode almost made me uncomfortable in a good way, and I liked it because because when you say the word uncomfortable, I just want to clarify for anyone out there, it is not you saying that you disagree and that you did not enjoy what happened. It's you feeling as if it was different, because it was very different. And it was specify what I mean by uncomfortable too, in the sense, and I like the fact that they went ahead and created a character that had indeterminate gender and fused together a biological, a male and a female, and I liked all that stuff, so that's not what made me uncomfortable. The whole thing with the Kevin actually is what made me uncomfortable.
That was uncomfortable.
That made me feel uncomfortable, and that's what I'm saying in a good way, because it made me uncomfortable, and I could appreciate the fact of what they were doing. I knew what they were trying to do, and I respected it, and it worked.
And before we get to that,
made me uncomfortable.
Yes, well, it's not his weird. It's his. Yeah, it's what he did, I think, mostly. Because, we'll talk about that later. But just general idea that, I enjoy that he did nothing physically, because sadly, some people think, oh, well, I don't hit. I don't hit a women, so I'm a great stand-up person. It's just like, because words don't hurt, because words aren't something that people use every single day. It's very, I think, silly that people just go, well, physically I'm a stand-up person. It's like, no, you can still be a creep. You can still be off, and not be on the right track, even if it's like, well, I only use words. There's nothing wrong with, talking to someone, trying to, get to know them, or more importantly, maybe saying certain key phrases and words when you're, when you know that person and when you're in the relationship and both sides are okay with it. But, there's nothing appropriate about walking up to someone you don't know and going, hey, baby, and then insert whatever, Kevin said here. So it's, because we're not there just yet, but just generally, I enjoyed the idea that all it was words. So he wasn't this, evil, demonic creature that, sometimes you'll see in these shows and go, yeah, that's the bad guy. No, he just looked like some person, just a person who was just saying some things, but it wasn't just, it has repercussions to it to show that, hey, kids, and other people that may think, oh, no, but, I'm good because, I do this. It's like, no, that's bad. That's a bad thing to do.
No, I agree. And in the beginning, so we start off with the episode with them, like, all dancing away here. Because they're trying to teach Steven fusion.
Yes.
Oh, boy, that was fun.
I liked that once the dancing was over, they said, oh, that'll definitely help with your fusion, because it took a fun filler episode. Because, yes, filler episodes can be fun and enjoyable, and I would never really suggest skipping them. But it took a filler episode and turned it into an actual main plot episode. Because this episode should definitely not be skipped. I really don't think that,
No, this episode, this is, because I can't even call it filler. It wasn't filler because it was definitely story progression.
Yes, no, because even if you're going to tell me, oh, I don't care about Steven and Connie's love life. Well, I hope you care about Steven's powers, which are kind of, about him and the basis of the show, him learning to gain his powers. Because even if you're going to try and argue, I'm not a big fan of romance. That's not me. It's not, my thing. It's like, okay, but he was able to do a lot of things with his powers now that we know that. Not only do we know that, humans can fuse with gems, apparently, which is a huge thing. The idea that,
Steven, or at least Steven. Because
right,
Steven is part human, because we haven't seen, let's say, like Pearl and, like, Connie.
Right, but still, it's relevant because humans don't fuse with humans.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I would assume not. I don't know about their universe, but humans don't fuse with humans.
Correct.
So the idea, we make babies, but we don't fuse each other. So the idea is that, the idea that, he is somewhat compatible with humans in the sense of fusion. And fusion, humans are somewhat compatible, even though he has part human, DNA, obviously, still compatible, which is also, something very interesting, something that can be used in the future. And also just, I don't know, it brings a lot of strange and interesting possibilities in terms of combat and in terms of other future, ideas that, you're going to skip every fusion episode? No. So it was very relevant to me.
No, you can't skip this episode at all. And I also am under the impression, I say this jokingly, but also with a hint of, being serious, the idea that I believe that there are two people out there, those who ship Steven and Connie and liars. Because it's such a, and I want, Alone Together demonstrates to me a lot of why I like it so much. And and specifically early on when they're dancing together.
Yeah.
Because, all right, so when we talk about being in love, like let's say even us now, like being in our 20s, the idea is that, we feel comfortable being ourselves around that person. We feel better off being around that person. We're happy being around them. And it's really beautiful for me to look on and watch the Steven and Connie interactions, because you can see that Steven encourages Connie to break out of her shell. And it's later on, kind of exemplify the idea that Connie basically has social anxiety. But she doesn't have it, like, around Steven, it doesn't bother her. Like, she's not that person around Steven. She's comfortable being herself. And there's, like, a beautiful aura to that, this idea that they really just enjoy each other's company wholly and fully. And it's just something, I don't know, we don't always get to think about as much these days, because as we get older, there's some more emphasis placed on physical attributes. And even in this episode, you can see the importance placed on physical attributes once they fused. The whole idea of everyone reacting to Stevonnie being, having the appearance of a beautiful woman. Physical attributes become more prominent as you get older, and we sometimes forget the innocent part of it, the innocent part of love. And it's really beautiful to have seen, like, this whole interactions, like them dancing together and laughing. It takes me back to things that I never really, experienced myself, because I was such a shut-in. Like, I was such... I guess relatable to Connie in the sense that I just didn't have a Steven. Before Connie met Steven, I very much exemplify that kind of personality, and It's interesting because I can appreciate that and think about, like, if I were to have kids, I'd want them to have that kind of interaction, that kind of friendship and love. And it's nice. It's just really nice to bask in. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that they're young and essentially in love.
I agree in the sense that you and I definitely were both shut-ins when we were younger. You confused me at first because you were talking about, thinking about two people in love. Speaking of us, and I said, oh, I didn't realize. Like, for a split second, you threw me off. And then you were like, we're in our 20s. And I was like, go on. And you were just like, like...
Matt
and
and I aren't gay lovers, for the record. I don't know if that was somehow, like...
Oh,
if that's...
I was... Well, no. We're not, but I was... Well, you destroyed my hope. Well, you destroyed all my hope.
Oh, that's what's funny. I'm like, did I just, like... It was like, did I just reveal a secret here? Like, are there people shipping us? Because now I feel bad.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I almost forgot another point. The idea that, in all that, like, you can't call Connie and Steven a ship, because in my opinion, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's just how it's been used around me, the word ship is, hey, I know what the show does, but, I prefer, okay, like, in my opinion, right, it's like saying, I ship Ross and Rachel from Friends. That's how I feel about it.
That I feel like... Say?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I personally, like, I consider, when I usually see ships, I'm not saying people are putting their own personal whatever into it, because that's, wrong. But obviously someone is backing this ship. People back the ship. People will ride the ship into the sunset, just through the Atlantic. That's their ship. Right, so to me, it feels like a thing where, of course, it's just you're shipping the relationship. That's just what it is. But it feels like a weird thing to say, where it's just like you said, like, if you're not for the Steven and Connie ship, in my opinion, it's just a thing where it's like you literally are just saying, I want the show to change. Where, what I'm saying? Where, like, let's say if you look at a show like Death Note, and you're like, oh, I'm not into shipping, Elle and Light, let's say. Well, the show isn't necessarily doing it. I would argue. It is just you saying, I prefer the two of them and this is what I ship. But with the show itself, it's literally, if you don't ship Connie and Steven, what I'm saying is, the idea, it feels like it's just, you're literally saying, I don't like this plot point. Not, I don't like this ship. I prefer this ship. It's like, you're literally saying, I don't like plot point. You see what I mean?
Okay. No, I get it now. I get it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's still correct for me to say, like, I ship Steven and Connie. Because,
No, it's accurate. It's not wrong.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, though. Because it is a focal point of the plot. Like, it's not like Steven has other alternatives here. It's just a thing where it's like, hey, Steven and Connie. There's your romance.
Not just that. Not even any other alternatives. Just also the idea that it's pushed so heavily to the point where it's literally, I know we're behind on shows, but still, just even at this point, before Alone Together, I would argue it's pushed so heavily that it's just like, it would have to be someone making their own OC character to ship with Steven. Nothing wrong with that either, by the way. Make your own OC characters. OC is cool. But still, just the idea of that is, I feel like, where you would have to go. To be like, I do not want Connie and Steven.
No, that's right. Yeah. Because, and there's also the benefit of, it isn't just the romance in the sense of, like, topical. You mentioned it being a plot point. And it's important because you look at their romance, if you want to call it that. Cause I know some people are uncomfortable. They're like, they're kids. It's not love. It's like, that's fine. You can call it what you wish. I'm fine with that. But their connection, their relationship, leads him to fusion in this episode for the first time. And, with some things to be considered from later episodes, it's even more significant, the idea of, like, two lovers fusing. And it's just...
Yes.
I guess it's really nice to appreciate that it's like, doubly romantic and cute and, like, oh, hey, it's a ship. And also it's a vehicle to show Steven, like, gaining his powers. Because we also
very creative.
Go back to his first interaction with Connie. And it's the bubble, because
which pulls
he
them
bubbles
together
to save them. Yeah, and it's, I think, like, his powers tend to be, outside of the cute stuff, like Winter Forecast, which was it after this episode?
I'm going to say it was, sir. I'm going to say it was. Don't spoil anyone.
I'm not spoiling anything. Like Winter Forecast, which is a Steven and Connie episode. That's all I'm like. But
You spoiled the fact that they get married. Great job, Satish Ram.
No, that's the other episode. That's the other episode. Don't worry, I'm doing what you want, Matt. Want.
No, but seriously. So no, as you mentioned though, it's very well, as I mentioned, the idea that again it's a brilliant device. And then you mentioned the bubble and then I was going to bring up the idea that it's just, it's all based in love. Some people have said maternal, but it's all kind of just based in just this love, protecting, but not in a way where, Connie needs the protection. But again, just the idea that, Steven learned, I think, just really from his mom, the idea of sacrifice for others, because of the fact that, she sacrificed herself for her son.
Yeah, emotion is definitely a common theme with Steven because you do look at the interactions with Connie and how his powers become, they come to the surface because of that. And then you swing it back to something like the first episode, Gem Glow. Mm-hmm. And you see that Steven, activated his shield for the first time eating a cookie cat and being really, really happy. And so we still don't have clarity on why that happened. But, it's obvious that, moments of high emotion tend to lead to him being able to tap into these powers.
Steven definitely felt bad for Cookie Cat. He wanted to save him because he did, in fact, leave his planet behind, the same way his mother left him.
So bad.
And that is why I think that's what it drew me to the show. I remember you told me, watch Steven Universe. I think it was you that told me watch it. And then I watched it and I was like, Cookie Cat, he leaves his planet. He left his planet behind. I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. That's what really got me into the show, just Cookie Cat. But anyway, before we move on to something else, I want to mention one little quote that I think is a big quote. And it was just such a throwaway line, but it's just, I love it when they do stuff like this, where Amethyst just said, come on, it's Steven. Who knows what's going to happen?
I think that's
and it was so relevant.
We skipped over the fact that Pearl's into some really interesting dance moves.
We skipped over them only because it's very interesting that Pearl can be both. Well, it's funny because Garnet is the one that is more aggressive, and then Pearl's the one who's kind of she's very very.
Are you trying to avoid saying submissive?
I was thinking of a different word, but I guess you want to use that word. Sure. No, I was thinking of more. No, because I was thinking fluid, like water. That's the way I think. The way she dances.
Sanguine,
water,
like calm,
flowing.
Yeah.
Tranquil. Yeah. That's how I think of her. Of her as a human being, usually, and of her as a dancer. So that's the thing. Garnet, is more. Is more. What was that? What did I say before?
Aggressive, you said.
Just aggressive. And then, of course, it's really funny because she can be aggressive, but not as much as Amethyst, where Amethyst is generally just like, this is happening. That's what I love about Amethyst's dance moves in general. Amethyst basically just, in her dances, you basically see her saying, yeah, this is happening. This is what's going on right now. Are you offended?
Are you with it or not? Are you with it or not?
Yeah, because I am. Because,
right.
That's what she said. It's great, because I'm with it. So if you're not, you probably should be.
Right, and
it's great.
I laughed so hard, though, at the beginning of the Pearl being pinned up against the wall dance move, and then Steven trying to copy that later, and Pearl just kind of smiling, because I'm like, that's cute. Because he can't do it, but like...
Because he has no concept of any of the passion or that goes behind some of these dance moves, so it's just, am I doing it? His hands are still on the wall. So is this dancing?
I'm also glad I'm not a crystal gem because I can't dance for shit. So I would be struggling.
I think it comes with the territory.
Like I don't know if it just happens that way because Steven is very musical, So like the music and the dancing seems to fit.
He's musical because of Greg, but he can't dance because of Greg.
Well, he can dance fine with Connie.
Yes, but he can dance fine, but compared to what the Gems were doing, it's Greg's fault. It's all Greg's fault. I love Greg so much.
Also,
but it's all his fault.
I will say, it is kind of fair to make the argument that the Gems have had thousands of years of practice, and Steven's had, one. So,
Steven has had 10 years of practice. He's 10.
But he hasn't been practicing for 10. Which is
all right, fine then. He had to learn how to walk. 9 years he's been walking.
Compared to, like, what, 5,000 confirmed for Amethyst?
Let's not.
Oh, my God. Let me be generous here, and I shave off 1,000 years here for childhood.
Let's shave off 1,000 just to be fair.
9 on one side and 4,000 on the youngest other.
You're telling me that when you look at Amethyst and when you see her personality, like when you look at her and she speaks to you, you think that's a person who moves. She loves just laying around. She hasn't been walking for. She hasn't been dancing for. I think it just comes naturally to them. Also, this is all stupid. This is completely not
right.
Like,
we're all having fun here. Don't worry.
I'm being an idiot. But still, all jokes aside, though, I do think that it comes to them a bit more naturally.
I can imagine someone was listening there for a minute, like, what the f*** is he talking about? Of course she Yeah, it's okay. Matt's kidding.
Amethyst never moves. What if we learn that Amethyst never moves anywhere? It's just like a mind thing. Where it's just like she's just so much more because she's a hybrid of some sort or something. So just generally just moves because of her mind, which you might be thinking, but everyone does that, Matt. No, her legs are never moving. She's just floating. She just makes us think that she's moving. It's like a Professor X kind of thing. Yeah, right. Just
no.
Matt, you know what's really bad? We've said things before about the show that have somewhat panned out. Some theories and things like that. I'm so nervous for what we say next. That's why I'm going off the wall. I'm just like, nope, not going to happen.
I opened you didn't see this because we're on air, like, verbally, but I opened my mouth to talk and shushed myself. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't be that guy. But no, swinging it back to this episode. So I really, really enjoyed just the Steven and Connie dancing scene. It, like, warmed my heart kind of sweet.
Oh, even
like,
before
I loved
that.
it.
I can't even, before that, I just enjoyed the fact that Garnet's reaction, after that.
Right. Yeah, you're going through chronologically now.
I actually am going. No, it's funny because I didn't write about them dancing because it was so adorable that I actually forgot to write notes. So I almost skipped it to go. Garnet's reaction to what?
It's like,
Matt?
no,
well, when they
Garnet's reaction to the result of their dancing,
yes,
which I thought was handled really well. Where it was like,
very well.
I'm a fusion. I was like, God damn it! That was
I think even before that, just the idea of Connie catches Steven and then they're just laughing together, and it was again pure. That's the reason why I would go as far as consider it love, or at least just love. Not like they're in love, but just the word love, because I've seen that before. I've been in that, just the love that it's just, it's not like there's any, like kissing or anything physical. It's just the idea of your heads are together and you're just laughing and you just have that just feeling of just pure, just bliss and glee in the moment.
No, bliss is the word. Bliss is the immediate thing that comes to mind. And I think what's interesting, though, is I had the thought, like you're mentioning kissing. Connie's going to be the one to kiss Steven if it ever happens. I'm calling it.
Yes.
I know it's...
Yes, and it's funny, too, because it's not like she's going to... It's weird. It's going to be a situation, I feel like, where Connie's going to say, I was confused in the sense that I wanted to examine and, because I feel like she would come at it, attack it with a very much like, I thought about this statistically.
Yeah, no, and Connie's so well-read that I feel like she's got a grasp on this, and she would be the one to make the move.
Yes.
I believe that, honestly.
And because I feel like Steven would end up killing or at least subduing a creature next to her face before or around the time she would try to, she would try to go and he'd be like, no, I cannot, fighting, and she'd be like, oh, Steven.
No, I think Connie would be the one. I also think Steven can create the romantic ambiance, but he doesn't even know it. Like, the idea of, like, that whole dancing thing, he created that, and that was really beautiful. And he doesn't even realize what he created. But it made them so happy, and that was really easy to get into. And then their happiness of being a fusion, and I liked Pearl's freakout because I liked all three reactions, to be fair, because all three reactions were on par with what I expected from them. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's predictable. It's like, no, I love the way they reacted.
Not Garnet. Garnet because of, because at the time, we do have these rumors that she's
Garnet's
a fusion.
Bliss, I thought, was interesting because
because there are rumors.
Fusion. And then earlier in the episode, when they say, well, fusion's hard, Garnet's like, not for me. And it's like, well, fuck. Is that kind of implying,
it's very, and so it was very, very strange, feeling. And all of a sudden, like, just, Pearl, completely par. Like you said, the idea that Pearl's just like, hey, this is a bit different. I'm a little worried about what might happen to the two of you. What happens if you're this way for, the idea of what happens if you're this way forever? What happens if you both explode? The idea of just, because she's a warrior at heart for her baby.
This has never happened before. It's
exactly.
It's like what you referenced before. Everything's like, who knows what'll happen? It's Steven. Literally, because it has never happened before. A gem has never fused with a human. And the only interaction they had like that, Rose is dead. So, like, there's a bit of a confusion in terms of, like, what's going to happen here. So it makes sense. Amethyst is like, man, you look great. Wow. And Garnet, of course, bringing the wisdom and just the smile, though, was unexpected because it was like, oh, God, Garnet just smiled.
Pure glee.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the speech afterwards, that was just truly inspirational, and that's kind of what made me feel about the idea of, when I bring up the word love, because just the idea of you are not two people, you are an experience. And it was just, wow, like the idea that you are an experience is just, it gave me chills because I forgot about that. So rewatching it now, it was just, wow. It was really powerful to me. And then, of course, we got the, moving forward, because you already talked about the idea that, Stevonnie, they met Lars and Sadie, and, both Lars and Sadie were like, hello. Because of the idea that, they are both Steven and Connie, I feel as if it kind of was a thing where, where Lars can go, oh, and then Sadie can go, oh. Like, I think because it felt like everyone was just, somehow attracted, and not like attracted in a, attracted as in like actually the laws of attraction, just literally pulled, to Stevonnie, which was very interesting, as you noticed. Like, it really felt like a thing where it wasn't just like, oh, like, the laws of attraction, not, But it was very interesting. I didn't realize you were drinking. But yeah, it was very interesting.
No, I was trying to clear my throat, and I'm like, yes, I am here.
Yes. But yes, and then, of course, we have, what was it, Sour Cream? I always forget his name.
Yes, Sour Cream is correct.
Okay.
Because always think Sour Cream and, well, actually, nope, that's another spoiler. God damn it.
Oh,
I can't even do that.
It can't be.
I'm so sad.
It can't be. I'm not. It's funny because I didn't know about that, and I feel like you spoiled me. But at the same time, I'm looking at the current potato chips that I'm eating.
And you figured it out.
Air. Yeah, no, it's pretty. It's obviously, sour cream and fries. So he's definitely related, possibly a cousin, to, the people working at the the burger place.
But sour cream, sour-faced stranger.
Right. So sour cream stranger. Hey, sour cream stranger. And also it's like, hey, there's a rave. But by the way, I love the idea. There's a rave, and all my friends from the internet are going to be there. And I thought, wow, stop being so young, Steven Universe writers. Because that's just a thing. That's not even a joke. That's a thing. Kids will laugh at that and be like, haha, like why would his friends from the internet be there? Everyone else who isn't a kid, yeah. That's how it works. But
I'm thinking about it too, because I remember when I heard the line, I laughed really hard because I was like, that's realistic.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We laugh, and then the kids are laughing because they're like, that's silly, and we're laughing because we're like, no, that's legit.
No, we get it. Yeah, we got it.
But, and then, of course, they went to a rave, which I think was really cool, because the rave, the reason why I thought the rave in concept was cool is because we get to see Beach City nightlife with the teenagers that we never get to see, because separated, Steven is 10, so they're never going to be invited to an, I would hope, over 21, if not at least over 18. Then again, of course it wasn't. They're teenagers. What did I just fucking... Still, the idea of... Well, I mean, there was no drinking, so... Hooray! But still, the idea of, the rave, which is very interesting. Just, this idea of, you guys are going to, because they would have to at least have a good 4 to 5 years before being invited to something like this. So, and of course, by that time, I would assume the show wouldn't be going. So we wouldn't really, and of course all the teens would be older anyway. So we really wouldn't get to see that insight into something that, because we're always really seeing it through, even if we're not seeing it, even if we get to see times when Steven isn't in the room, it's still usually through Steven's eyes. The general town.
So, because it's really interesting to me, this entire, because I know that we want to talk about the test too, but it's really interesting, this entire interaction at the party. And the first thing I'm going to rifle off quick, because I know I want to speed through, so I might skip around chronologically quickly for a moment.
Okay.
The physical representation or the animation of anxiety, the way that that really got to me, because I don't know if I mentioned it much on air, but that is something that I have. Not so much social anxiety, but anxiety. And so I don't deal with social anxiety, but I just, there was a moment of silence in my brain, because I get that kind of feeling, and I thought the representation physically, just the way they did it, animated wise is what I'm saying, it was very, very good, and I respected them for that, because it's sort of like saying Connie has anxiety without outright saying Connie has anxiety, and that's very impressive to me. And the idea, this concept of alone together, if you were here, everything would be okay, but you're not, so I'm alone, was, it hit hard, because it made sense, and I was like, wow, I can see why she's freaking out. And I can see why also Steven doesn't enjoy himself in that situation, too, because that's not what he wants.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was very... it was very interesting because, even if you want to look at it, and try to translate it to, two people in a relationship, let's say, or just, generally together, if they're being a bit too, I guess, maybe stuffy, or just depending on how close they're being, sometimes it's not, it's either too close or it's just generally not working in a certain way. So they had to split, not actually break up, but, just again, split as in, an actual unit, to just be like, wow, you know what, let's have fun like this. This is how we can have fun. Instead of having to be this fusion, because it wasn't working, because they were one. But again, that's the problem, is that they were one. They needed to be two. It was a very interesting concept for me, because again, it was technically you're not alone, but you are.
Right, and then, speaking a moment on the Kevin character, first off, I think it's interesting that they chose the name Kevin, because...
First off, because it's so general, which I enjoyed.
No, well, the idea of, if you take the first syllable of Connie's name, being, first letters, C, and you take the second half of Steven's name, you could technically create Kevin. And I was wondering, I was wondering if that was done on purpose, because I was like, is it? Because
to me, I don't know. To me, it felt just very much like a name that, because he was a bit dark skinned, and I enjoyed that they were just like, no, Kevin, we're not going to, because as I mentioned before, also the idea, by the way, that Connie is. Has Connie been confirmed as a certain?
I believe she's Indian, but
no, she hasn't been confirmed as Indian.
No, but she's of Middle Eastern descent.
Yes, he looked as if he was as well. it looked like a kind of thing where they both, like, I feel like it was kind of just the idea where it's just, they both look similar in how they were drawn, interestingly enough. Both Kevin and Stevonnie. And, of course, when Connie split, technically Connie. So it was a very interesting situation, which I guess, it would fit you saying the idea that, it was as if you were kind of combining Steven and Connie's names into Kevin. Something very important about Kevin was that when he first appeared, I really enjoyed him, not only because, I think it's because when he first appeared, he said, "It's Kevin time." That sounded like something a Kevin that we know would say. And more importantly, it reminded me of Duke Devlin. So when he first appeared, he won me over. It was like, it's time for Duke Devlin. Like, I was like, oh, hooray. And then slowly, it's really funny too, because it kind of felt like when you get to know people sometimes, when it's like, originally you're just like, yeah, man, that person won me over, they were great. You get to know them and you're like, wait, no, they're a sleazeball. Because he just develops into this sleazeball who just thinks that it's, right to talk to women a certain way. And it's like, hey, man, if you're, get to know this person. Stevonnie was perfect, which is, you don't even know me. Like, what the hell are you doing, basically? And it was just such a great scene because, like I mentioned earlier, it just shows people, hey, just because they're quote unquote just words doesn't mean that they aren't in any way, like hurtful or at the very least impactful. And it was a very good scene.
Yeah, I enjoyed that kind of like lash out of power from Stevonnie after, where it was just like, you know what?
I'm not your baby.
First off, I'm not your baby, but you want to dance? And then just this like wild set of like emotion and on the dance floor, and I kind of enjoyed it because I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, it was great. And then before we end everything off and jump to the test, which, we don't have a lot of time left, but the test also was a lot less, it was great, but it was a lot less in depth than this episode, I would argue. Before we move on, I will admit the end was perfect. The dancing, yes, between Steven and Connie and Sour Cream going, yay. But no, the thing that I really enjoyed, yes, before that even, when they break off, and then Kevin goes, that's 2 kids, I'm out. I genuinely laughed at that because it just felt like this Chris Hansen kind of thing, where it's just like, 2 kids? I'm fucking out. Nope, not happening. Not today.
What was interesting to me was, like, I can't, well, first off, by the way, I should mention, Sour Cream was DJing with Game Boys, and I want to make that known, and that made me really happy.
I didn't notice that. Thank you for, usually everyone notices that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, he did, and it made me so happy, dude. Because I was like,
what Game Boys? Colors or Advances?
Both.
Okay.
We'll see the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, and what looks like potentially a Game Boy Micro. But
okay.
Yeah. No, but the ending was interesting to me because of the laughter, and I was confused at first because I'm like, is it like a confused, like scared laughter? But then after with Sour Cream throwing the glow sticks, I'm like, I think they're just happy to be free of it because now they're with each other again, and that's good.
Oh, and yes.
It's interesting, but yeah.
Right before we move on, I just want to mention, you mentioned the anxiety, and I feel really bad about the anxiety for Stevonnie, especially because, the idea that sometimes this happens with others as well. It's just the idea of, I feel self-conscious because I'm being looked at, and it's like you're being looked at because of how great you are.
Yeah, that's the thing. They put on a show, and Connie didn't realize it was because of the fact that they did amazing. And, that was like such a fluid, and it was new to them because again, Connie's not a social being, not used to this.
Yeah, but anywho, so that episode is done. We of course loved it. We were a little upset at the time when we heard that the reruns were being taken off from the episode airing. And from what we learned, very quickly, but what we learned, it was just the idea that, from what it seemed like the idea was Cartoon Network assuming people might feel weird about this, parents, people, and then they were, then they thought, okay, we shouldn't take the show off the air because the show is making money. You don't take something off the air if it makes money. But unless there really was a backlash, but apparently there was not. So they were just running scared. So they took off the reruns.
The idea of it made Steven Universe more of an event Like, they thought it would increase viewership of the main episode debuts if they took off the reruns. I don't agree with that. But
and I assume it didn't because...
It did, actually. But only because I think it was an uptick in episode quality and story relevance as well.
Okay.
And also the consistency of what we got when we got, like Steven Baum, the whole, like, set of Steven episodes in a week. We got 5 in a row. And that was a big part of it, too. But anyway.
Yes, okay. So, yeah, no, because have been some people that, have argued with me about it, trying to say that, Cartoon Network got angry. And I'm like, no.
They might have because of how, this was a progressive episode, and I applaud them for it.
But that's the reason why they shouldn't be angry, because
no, they should be proud.
Have said, well, no, but of course, but what I mean is they could have said no. Like, it's not as if you and I get a show on Cartoon Network, it's not just great, do whatever you want to. Unless we're on Adult Swim, and even then, there's still rules and regulations. While it sounds crazy to say, because if some of you have seen the Adult Swim lineup late at night, you might think, no, or early morning. There are no regulations.
Correct.
There actually are. There still are. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like we're not just... So that's the thing. I don't really think they were angry. I think they were just being overly cautious, but in a stupid way, because there's no reason to be cautious, because I'm sure nobody complained. If anyone did complain, it would be like the Family Guy FCC episode. 4 people complained. And by our standards, that means 4 million people complained. That's
that
why I would see it.
Cracks me up, and that's hilarious. That's a great point.
That's the thing. But that's what I would argue. I don't think they're mad, and I don't think anyone should look at them as being mad unless, of course, if you have any, actual evidence to the contrary, anyone from Cartoon Network saying, no, we were mad, please, those guys on the radio.tumblr.com, send it to us. We would love to, post about it and just kind of, reblog and share that. But as far as Satish and I know, no one was mad. And we're taking it very much as they were being cautious, because if they were so mad, it wouldn't have been there. I mean, Disney did not want 2 women or 2 men being together on screen in the Love God episode for Gravity Falls.
It was
right?
2 women. It was 2 women.
It was 2 women. So it was changed to a African American man. An older African-American man and an older, Caucasian woman. So that's what they did, right? Which is still, something good, something progressive. But, of course, it wasn't, 2 women on screen. Now, they did it. Why? Well, because they didn't want, they want to ship this out to other countries. And let's say in Russia, it wouldn't have been enjoyed there, sadly. But the idea is still like, okay, again, the reason, like, if Cartoon Network didn't want it, it wouldn't have happened, is the point. And if they, and even if you can say, they were persuaded. Well, they still agreed to it, is the idea. So, of course, they wouldn't just go, fine, we'll take off your reruns now. Because usually companies don't shoot themselves in the foot when things are making money. They just do things like that, which increases the demand of it, to think this will make it more money. Make more money for us. But anywho, moving on to the test, right? And here's a test. Can we get this done in 17 minutes?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
When I first saw this episode, I didn't like it because I wanted more of an explosive, because let's throw a little bit of chronological order out because we got 17 minutes. I didn't like it because I wanted a bit more, like, anger from Steven at the end. But watching it again a few times, I think I actually appreciated it more.
I mean, it's just, what I think it is, too? I think it's a thing where you may have taken it from, instead of taking it from the, they're trying their hardest, you may have taken it with the, they don't deserve respect, in the sense that, it's like the idea that there are some people out there that say, hey, no matter what adults, quote-unquote adults, even though we're now adults, but still elders do to you, you respect them, right? So I was wondering maybe if you took it in a sense of, hey, they screwed up, they should be called out on it, versus, oh no, Steven is actually, really being really mature and taking it all in and doing something great. It's not about the idea that they are higher, than Steven or whatever. It's just the, on the totem pole or whatever. It's just the idea that Steven realizes, hey, they're trying their hardest. Was it something like that, or?
I think I wanted them to give Steven more leeway.
Okay.
in the sense of, like, I wanted an actual challenge because I believed that he could do it. And I was into the idea that, you know, hey, Steven can handle this, right? Like, he's killing it. And then I was kind of like, I was pissed like Steven for a moment.
Well, I was happy because I thought they were putting him through way too much. Now, granted, he was able to do it, of course, but he could have been killed. I mean, granted, I'm not saying that the challenges should have been real, but they definitely shouldn't have been boulders, swinging axes on pendulum, what was the other one?
Okay, lava.
Yeah, lava. That's the funniest thing, too. It's like, what's the next step? Lava. Like, what? Like, they sat there, they're like, what can we do? Well, the first one should definitely be Indiana Jones. Like, okay. The second one, pendulums. Okay. What about the third one? Lava. Like, it's just definitely lava. But yeah, no, that's the thing. I felt as if they were putting him through too much if it was real, because it didn't feel like them, in the sense that, like, I was just sitting there like, why are they going to put Steven through actual danger for something that, yes, he asked for it, but it was a thing where it's like, what if Steven died? Pretending. Like, what if Steven actually died? It's just, how did he die? He asked for a test that we didn't even want to put him through in the first place. So I'm not saying I'm happy, because again, I'm happy that it was fake only because of the extent that they were going to put him through if it was real.
Because for me, I sometimes get this idea of, like, Steven Universe isn't over, so Steven couldn't die.
Yes, which is accurate. It's a thing, but it's just the idea of, you have to put it into, context into what's actually happening, where it's like, what if Steven died and Greg had to ask why he died? And he would go, it was just crazy gem stuff, right? You didn't see it happening? Oh, no, we put him through all of it. And we sat there and watched.
Right, it would have been terrible. No, and I think after watching it a few times,
mm-hmm.
I also appreciated the interaction between the gems that they didn't think Steven could see.
Yes. Oh, I enjoyed that the most, I think, because or at least the two scenes. The first being him walking on the roof, because it felt very much like as if when you're a game developer and you're kind of looking behind the curtain, so to speak, and you get to see, how these things are made. That's how it felt to me. Like a 3D model and everything. And then, right, as if that wasn't the only way you're looking behind the curtain, they then show you Steven looking at Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, just talking about him, and all three of them realizing we don't know what to do. And it's just a very interesting thing, because not only do parents experience this, but I would definitely say that people who are kind of thrust into this role as guardians, when parents may pass away or may end up leaving, and, just the idea of, look, we don't know what to do and we don't have this guidance. He isn't, like, we didn't come into this thinking we will have a kid, but we do, and we have to do the best that we can, but we don't know. We just don't know. And that's why I enjoy Steven's bravery in not saying anything.
Yeah, I have to admit, thinking about it more, it's such a show of maturity and such a show of the fact that he is like a future leader. And I like that, and I want to appreciate that more. And I do. It's just, it was hard for me because I was kind of pissed for a bit.
I love that you said that. You said the words future leader, just like Rose.
Yeah, because that's the way it should be, I think, for him. That it makes sense.
Yeah.
He has Rose's gem, so he has a lot of her characteristics. And he, as a person, inhabits these abilities in terms of understanding humans, appreciating humans for both their flaws and their weaknesses, which is important, and just like how Rose would talk about, look at the lives they lead, it's complex, but it's beautiful, and look in that video with her and Greg.
Right.
You can see a lot of the characteristics embodied in Steven, and I like that, and I have to give him credit for that, as much as I kind of wanted a bit of an outburst, like, how could you? So I was kind of let down for a bit, where I was like, no, they lied to you, Steven. But it was important for them to feel like they were doing the right thing, because they didn't know what they were doing. And he realized that.
Yeah. which is something, that's, like you said, just future leader material right there. And also the idea that he is able to just pick up on complex things like kitchen catastrophe.
Don't Wake Father Figure made me smile for some reason. I don't know why.
What was that? I didn't hear you.
Don't Wake Father Figure made me smile for some reason. I don't know why. Just not sorry and Don't Wake Father Figure, and I'm like, well.
Well, you remember that game, right?
Don't Wake Father Figure?
You don't remember that? All jokes aside, like that was a legit thing in real life. It was called Don't Wake Dad.
Oh, Don't Wake Dad. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were trying to convince me there was an actual game called Don't Wake Father Figure, and I'm like,
apparently everything was copyrighted other than Checkers.
Because Checkers is in the public domain.
I didn't know about that. I do now. But it's really funny to me. But, of course, it's funny. Checkers, public domain. But I would argue you can't open up a restaurant named Checkers because of the restaurant named Checkers. But that's what's interesting. That's why I love the idea of the public domain. It's like, it's in the public domain. It's like, but how can it be used in the public domain? Like, well, I want to use it here in this business. Nope, another business is already using it. Crap.
Right.
Like, very interesting to me. I love business in that way. How interesting it can get with just like, I can use Steven here. I can use Universe here. But combine the two, and that's a lawsuit.
That's interesting and also accurate. But yeah, no, the test also had really good music. Like a random segue back in, but it had really nice music.
No, I know what you're going to... the victory theme is
my
your...
cell phone text message notification. So
yes.
Like, is my text notification noise. Because it's really cute.
Yeah.
And I like it.
The balloons were great. Because you think the balloons are going to be like some next big challenge, and then they just pop out. You're like, oh.
Yeah, I laughed. I'm like, oh my God, explode. Oh, no, not an explosion.
Steven, too, he was like, I'm going to die here. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, okay. Yeah. But no, it was a very good episode. Of course, the music really does, I think, get you very much into the episode. And, and it's funny because I say, well, my favorite scene is, apparently I had 3 favorite scenes in this episode, and I think they all just kind of connected. So it's technically one long scene where it starts off with him just slowly walking through everything and having them stop for him.
That was powerful.
And
then having because of the music, but just the power of Steven in that moment.
Yes. So I'm sorry. That technically was the last moment. So the idea that 3 moments, him walking on top of the roof, him finding out that they, were, they were taking it the whole time, and then having that transition into him walking powerfully through everything. 3 in a row, just one huge scene. That's what I enjoyed. Matt, that's about almost half the episode. That's what I loved about it.
I'm glad you thought so.
Yes. So, we've come to the end of our episode.
I'm glad we got there. I mean, we still have another one to do later on, which is the funny thing. That's the universe, of course.
What's really interesting is I think the idea that, it's been so long since we've done an hour show talking about things, that aren't professional wrestling related. Because usually we do WWE Monday Night Raw shows every Monday for about 2 hours, and we talk about a 3-hour Raw. So when we pace ourselves, it's a lot differently, and we have a lot more leeway. And if we're talking about, let's say, a match or a segment, we can really end it with like 2 sentences, depending on how good it was, depending on how bad it was, and call it a night as we move forward. Here, we just had so much to discuss in Stevonnie, and even in the test when we realized, we were like, because we do have some time, but I still think that what we said was still just, as powerful for the test. But, I mean, that Stevonnie episode, Alone Together, was just, it was so, I think, revolutionary in what it's done. So that's why I'm kind of, we focus so much on it because of what, hopefully it does in the future. And anyway, just, the idea that we do have some time. Of course, like, thank you guys for listening to those guys, for listening to our podcast on Steven Universe. If any of you are Gravity Falls fans, please stick around. Just do whatever you want to for the next half an hour, but remember that at 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., we're going to be talking about the Gravity Falls Season 2 mid-season finale, which is episode 11. And
yeah, we've been waiting to get on that one for a while.
Yes. And if you're listening to us in the archives, doesn't mean anything to you. You may have already listened to it. Good. If you haven't seen Gravity Falls yet, either in the archives or live, check it out. It's an amazing show. We cannot recommend it enough. And, you know, it's not just because we're doing it. You know, because I would argue that sometimes you and I can do a show, which we haven't really found yet, but we can do a show that will go guilty pleasure. You know, like a show like, let's say, if we talked about The Room, right, the film The Room. I think we can, or Troll 2. We can sit there and go, yeah, no, that's not, we're not looking at this, but, you know. But when you really think about Gravity Falls Steven Universe and a lot of the other shows that we do, we're doing them because we really just love them, and we cannot recommend them to you enough. So, yeah, definitely check out Gravity Falls if you haven't yet. If you have and you want to stick around, please do. If not, remember, we will be in the archives. Where are our archives located, you may ask? Well, we have ourselves a website /Tumblr, which is thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com. We've done plenty of shows there. I would list them all to you, but honestly, you can just go on the website and see on the show tab, which is on the left when you enter the main website, and you can just look at them yourself. I mean, there's so many that honestly, at least right now, I don't want to, because usually it's funny. We usually have enough time where I'm just listing all the shows in rapid fire. But, you know, we have a nice revamped site. We'd love for you guys to check it out. Definitely check out what we've done there. We've just done so much that I think it's just, I feel bad when I forget something. But anywho, so we have our archives on thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com. You could also go on iTunes and check us out there by going to Those Guys Radio. Also, we have ourselves a Facebook, a Twitter, and an Instagram where we update with new shows that we do. Our Facebook being /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our Twitter being @ThoseGuysRadio, and our Instagram being /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. We also have ourselves a Gmail, thoseguysonthe.radio@gmail.com, where you can email us if you want us to promote you on our show. We can work something out, or if you want to suggest show ideas to us. Also, you can do that through our Tumblr as well, as I mentioned before, thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com. And, yeah, hopefully you guys stick around and listen to us at 1. So you have anything to say, Satish, before we go?
No, I'm actually looking forward to seeing you guys at 1. You know, not physically, but hoping that some of you stick over because I know the fan bases tend to mesh a lot. And this is, of course, the mid-season finale, so it should be a lot of fun to get that over with because we've been anxious. We freaked out that night. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm going to watch it again in the meantime just to get myself reacquainted with everything that I feel. Yeah. But again, you know, just again, thank you all for listening in, and hopefully stick around. And if you don't, well, you know, we'll keep on doing Steven Universe shows and any other show that you may have enjoyed from us in the past. So yeah. So thank you guys for listening to Those Guys. Say good night,
Satish. Have a good night for now.
For now. For now.
For now.
Have a good night for now. Later on, I wish it's terrible.
Yeah. I'm a heel. But
see ya.
See you all for now.